This video is brought to you by CapBeast.com. Design your own custom snapbacks and hats.
The NBA is a unique league that attracts both players and fans from all around the world. For the most part, a majority of the players in the league are fairly creative. However, sometimes certain players take that creativity to another level. This is also true for the bizarre stories and incidents that they have faced throughout their careers. In fact, there are many NBA players from all around the association that have done or had some crazy things happen to them during their time in the league. From having lunch with thieves to choking out teenagers, the NBA is full of crazy stories that many people still don't know. With all that being said, today we take a look at the 5 craziest off-court incidents involving NBA players. Welcome to NBA Insider.
Westbrook shows from the basketball, goes to the rim!
By now, many of you guys may recognize NBA player Lou Williams as the popular 6th Man of the Year award winner and as one of the best bench players in the league. However, did you guys know that back when Lou Williams was playing for the Philadelphia 76ers, it was actually his popular NBA player status that once saved him from being a victim of a robbery? On Christmas Eve back in 2011, Lou Williams was sitting in his car when he was approached by a random man with a gun. Apparently, the man had intentions of stealing Williams' vehicle at gunpoint in an attempt to get away with a free yet expensive car. Williams himself said that he was driving in his car when the man approached him, knocked on the driver's window, and had a gun drawn. However, the situation took a turn of events as it was revealed that the suspect was a huge fan of Lou Williams himself. Because of this, instead of carjacking him, the suspect had praised Williams. Apparently, the suspect had recognized the NBA player through his work with the Lou Williams Foundation. So instead of robbing him, he complimented him for his work in the community and the city. In the end, the suspect refrained from robbing the NBA star and let him go. However, the crazy part about all of this was not only the fact that Lou Williams was almost robbed at gunpoint, but that he actually rewarded the suspect afterwards. Following the incident, Williams said he treated the man by giving him some money. The two then went out together to eat at a local McDonald's restaurant as Williams was nice enough to forgive the man for what he did. However, Lou Williams wasn't fazed by the incident at all as he went on to score 25 points the following game. In regards to the entire incident, Lou Williams spoke about it saying, "A guy tried to rob me but decided not to because of whatever I do in the community. He's a Lou Williams fan, so he didn't rob me. I was debating whether to pull off or help the guy. The gun was already out. He did all the talking and we came up with a solution before I could really say much. I treated him to McDonald's." Williams also went to Twitter to share his adventure by saying, "Almost got robbed today, but homie said he recognized me and the good I've done for his hood, so that made him change his mind." Wow. Lou Williams should consider himself to be incredibly lucky that this man didn't shoot him for his car. It's crazy to think that his fame in the league ended up coming handy in a big way. Just think about what would have happened if he was not in the NBA. I've heard a lot of strange stories involving NBA players, but nothing like this. It's one thing to get robbed, but it's a completely other thing to reward the suspect who robbed you. Nice thing to do for a fan, I guess. Cleveland Cavaliers shooting guard J.R. Smith has had his fair share of off-court issues throughout his entire career. However, this incident that happened a few years ago was one of the most serious ones. On November 13th, 2015, J.R. Smith got into an altercation outside of a restaurant in New York City. The argument began around 4 a.m. in the morning outside of a Manhattan pizzeria when J.R. Smith refused to pose for a picture with 19-year-old Justin Brown. Due to this, the teenager decided to snap and say, "That's why you got kicked out of New York." The minor had apparently mocked J.R. Smith for being traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers from the New York Knicks back in January of 2015. The teenager had also claimed that this statement alone got J.R. Smith so upset that he allegedly turned around and charged at him, wrapping his hands around his neck and slamming him against the wall. In the end, J.R. Smith was restrained by another person at the pizza shop who separated the two. J.R. Smith, who was in New York to play his old team that night, was not arrested even though police eventually did arrive on scene. The strange part, however, was the fact that the teenager did not make a criminal complaint until 3 days after the incident took place. It was only then that he walked into a local police station to tell the police what allegedly took place that night. Originally, no charges were filed. However, a few weeks later, the boy sued J.R. Smith for an outstanding $2.5 million. Luckily for Smith, there was video footage of the alleged altercation captured on cell phone. In the video, it did not show J.R. Smith choking the teenager, but that the so-called altercation was no more than a simple shove. The audio from the video also picked up the teenager saying, "I am going to get JR to punch me and sue him for $50,000. In the end, prosecutors refused to bring charges against J.R. Smith because because the evidence didn't support the alleged crime. Apparently, it was all just a cash grab from the start, according to J.R. Smith's lawyer. Smith even took to Twitter to announce his winning of the case by saying, "Don't believe everything you read," and I completely agree. Hopefully, J.R. Smith can keep away from any off-court issues in the near future. It's hard for me to put Charles Barkley on this list because he has become such a fan favorite and great TV personality since his playing days ended. Not only that, but he is easily one of the greatest players to never win a championship. Given how entertaining he has become as an analyst for the NBA, it's easy to forget about all of the off-court issues he has struggled with in the past. However, did you know that back in October of 1997, while playing for the Houston Rockets, Charles Barkley was arrested for throwing a bar customer through a glass window just the night before the opener of the 1997 NBA season against the Orlando Magic and the Houston Rockets? Power forward Charles Barkley arrived at a bar in Orlando at about 11 p.m. An off-duty officer working at the bar said that Charles Barkley was signing autographs when an argument erupted at about 2 a.m. A 20-year-old man named George Lugo began shouting out curses at Barkley after being ignored by the NBA star. However, at the same time, causing trouble wasn't anything new for George, as he was arrested 14 times in Florida in a matter of 2 years. Despite this, at first Barkley had tried to avoid the confrontation, but George had allegedly returned and threw a cup of ice at him and 3 women who were sitting at Barkley's table. The glass of ice hit Barkley in the jaw and knocked him off his chair. After this, Charles Barkley was extremely angry. The off-duty officer who was on scene tried to cool down the situation, but it was too late. Charles Barkley was already prepared to fight. Keep in mind that this was back in 1997, so Barkley was still in very good physical shape. So much so that he ran outside, lifted George up, and tossed him like a toy through the bar's window, shattering the entire glass in the process. George Lugo stood at 5 feet 7 and weighed only 110 pounds, so you can probably imagine how far his body was thrown by the 6'6", 252-pound Barkley. It's kind of like when Jazz is always thrown out of Will's house in the TV show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. No, but seriously. Luckily for George, he only received a few minor lacerations and cuts to his upper right arm. Charles Barkley's friends, including teammate Clyde Drexler, tried to get him to leave, but he was stopped and arrested a half block away. Charles Barkley was charged with aggravated battery and resisting arrest without violence. He was put in jail for 5 hours before being released on a $6,000 bond paid by his teammate Clyde Drexler. Police said that the Houston Rockets star told the victim as he laid bleeding on the ground, "You got what you deserve. You don't respect me. I hope you're hurt. For all I care, you can lay there and die." Charles Barkley was clearly not the one to mess with. As a matter of fact, at his court hearing, when the judge had asked him if he had any regrets, he said, "Yeah, I regret we were on the first floor." Simply ruthless. But then again, this is the same Charles Barkley who was also arrested for a DUI in 2009 and told police that he was just driving around the corner to get a BJ. So I mean, what do you expect? 20 years after the incident, the former power forward said that the result would be similar if someone threw a drink in his face today. He said, "I'm going to defend myself and whoever I'm with at all times. I made that clear in my years in the NBA. I will never back down from the public. I will never back down. They are going to respect me or I'm going to defend myself. If I'm sitting around with you one night and somebody threw a drink on me and you, we're going to beat their ass down. I promise you that." And for any of you guys who think that Charles Barkley is not a role model after hearing about this, trust me, I think he already knows that.
I am not a role model.
It should not come as a surprise to you guys that ex-NBA player Rasheed Wallace is on this list. After all, this is the same guy who holds the record for the most technical fouls received during one season with 41 in the 2001 NBA season. Anyhow, back in January of 2003, during a game between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Portland Trail Blazers, Rasheed Wallace was given a technical foul with roughly 9 minutes left in the third quarter by referee Tim Donaghy. During the game, another referee named Scott Wall had called a foul on Rasheed. Rasheed Wallace then tossed the ball towards Scott Wall, who had his back turned. Tim Donaghy saw this and thought that Rasheed was throwing the ball at Wall and gave Wallace a technical foul. Rasheed Wallace was angry considering the fact that his intentions were not meant to cause any harm. Rasheed Wallace responded to Donaghy's technical foul by saying, "Ask him if he thought I was throwing the ball at him." Luckily for him, Rasheed stayed in the game and finished with a season-high 38 points and 10 rebounds. However, about an hour following the game, Rasheed Wallace was signing autographs at the loading dock of the Rose Garden when all 3 referees from the game, including Scott Wall and Tim Donaghy, came walking past on the way to their car. Apparently, Wallace had shouted at Donaghy saying, "That was a bullshit call and technical, and I'm gonna get my money back." This was referring to the fine that players receive for getting a technical foul. Donaghy then responded, "Watch the tape." At this point, things took a turn for the worse. Rasheed Rasheed Wallace had apparently taken some steps towards Donaghy and said, "No, you watch the tape," and began to curse at him. Some sources claim that Rasheed had allegedly attacked Donaghy, although he never actually touched him. Instead, Wallace had yelled at Donaghy saying, "I'm gonna kick your ass, punk ass mother." In the end, the two were separated and the referees then went to their car. However, since Rasheed Wallace was known to have a hot temper, everyone seemed to agree that it was indeed him who started all the problems. Due to this, the NBA decided to place a 7-game suspension on Rasheed Wallace. However, on the bright side, the Portland Trail Blazers ended up winning the game 100-92. So, yeah. Now, I know that I already told you guys about the incident between Charles Barkley and the random dude at the bar and J.R. Smith and the teenager, but what if I told you that even NBA players get in fights outside of the court? Back in October of 2015, NBA player Matt Barnes got into a fight with Derek Fisher. Actually, calling it a fight wouldn't be fair considering the fact that it was only Matt Barnes who was doing the beating. Derek just happened to be the victim. As a matter of fact, Matt Barnes beat the out of Fisher when he learned that he was having a relationship with Barnes' wife, Gloria Govan. The craziest part about it was the fact that it all took place in his own house. Matt Barnes had learned about the situation when his 6-year-old twin sons told him that Derek Fisher was at the house. Barnes himself said that he called his sons on FaceTime when they told him, "Mommy's friend Derek is here." Now, first things first, hearing disturbing news like this from someone is one thing, but from your own kids? As soon as he received the news, Matt Barnes went crazy. The 6'7" small forward who now plays for the Golden State Warriors quickly drove 95 miles from his team's training camp to the house and went after Fisher. Barnes was heated from the moment he walked in the door and saw his former Lakers teammate in the house. Derek Fisher immediately stood up to Matt Barnes and an argument broke out. At around 11:45 p.m., a fight had erupted between the two. Matt Barnes had punched Derek Fisher in the mouth with a closed fist. Several people, including Gloria, rushed in to try to break it up, but the fight did not stop until one of Matt's children came into the backyard and begged the men to stop. Following the incident, Matt Barnes allegedly texted a friend telling him that he had not only assaulted Derek Fisher, but that he also took revenge on his now ex-wife. In the text, he said, "I kicked his ass from the backyard to the front room and spit in her face." After the incident took place, police were called, but Derek Fisher left before they even arrived. In the end, Derek Fisher decided not to press charges, probably because he realized that he really broke the bro code. It kind of sucks considering that the two had been good friends / teammates for many years, but clearly that friendship is now over. And that concludes the video. As always, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If I made any mistakes or missed anything that you felt should have been included, please let me know. Also, if you have any recommendations for future videos such as interesting stories or topics like this, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. As always, thanks for watching NBA Insider.